Have you ever had a sales call and you thought, I am so rocking this, but then they don't buy and you're wondering, well, maybe it wasn't very good. I thought it was good, but it wasn't good. How do I know if it was good? Well, today we are going to be reviewing a real sales call with a real viewer and giving you some tips on the things that he did well and also the things that he can improve so that you can take these back and rock your sales calls. I'm Amy Walker, small business strategist, and if you're new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can get notified every time we release new content. And in today's video, here's a couple of the things that you're going to get. First, we're going to talk about how to structure your calls so that the client is more inclined to say yes. We're going to teach you how to kick off your calls in a very powerful way and take charge in the beginning. Also, how to identify if your client is somebody who purchases from pleasure or purchases from pain, and how to adjust your conversation accordingly. So let's take a listen.
Hey, my name is Torrin Molesworth. I'm an exercise and nutrition coach that helps people conquer their body to master their life with sustainable lifestyle choices.
But just to start off, I like to set expectations. Is it okay if I coach you instead of being your friend?
That's more than cool.
Okay, so I like this. I'm always a big fan of starting off the call with expectations. So good job. I give you 1 point here, but let's see how you do.
But I want you to get results. So if there's any BS or excuses, I'm going to call you out, and that's going to be uncomfortable for some people, right?
No, that's cool. I like it.
Right, perfect.
Okay, this is good right here because he's setting the tone for how he wants the vibe of his call to go. So some of you are going to want a vibe because it fits you that's more like, no, we're going to get right to the point. I'm going to call things out. It's a little bit more of like a drill sergeant type, like I'm going to get in and call you out on your stuff. Some of you are going to want to set a vibe that's a little bit more like this is a safe space, it's a no judgment zone where we can be completely honest. So you set the tone early on in the conversation, and he is definitely taking charge of this the way that he wants it to go. We'll see how it works out for him.
And then I have permission to interject in case we get off course.
Of course.
All right, awesome. So like this is, I just want you to know the point of this call is it's a goal setting call. My goal is to give you clarity in your goals, provide you with solutions with the things you're struggling with, and if I think you're a good fit, I'll give you an offer to work with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I also really like this because at the beginning of the call, you need to let them know the offer's coming. If you don't let them know, then they'll spend the whole call thinking like, is there going to be an offer? Are they going to pitch to me? What is this going to look like? And you just don't really know. So there's a portion of their brain power that's just going to figuring out when the pitch is coming. So letting them know up front that the pitch is coming is great. There's one thing that I like a little bit better, which is to do 3 different things. And so I say, okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask a lot of questions and analyze where you're currently at. Second thing, we're going to map out your plan for how to get you to your goals. And then third, if it looks like I can be a good fit, I love to tell you how you can work with me. And I feel like that kind of, the process helps them feel like they're going to be getting more value before the offer comes. And there's a little shift that happens in the mind when they feel like they've gotten a lot of value. They want to reciprocate back. So that's a little tweak I would make.
And then, so let's say, like, in case I believe you're a good fit, and then the call, you're going to have 2 options. One is to say yes, in which case I'll start on your plan, get working with you immediately to strategize it. And then the second option is no. And, like, if you don't think it's the best investment in your health and fitness, I don't expect you to say anything else but no, right? So, like, if it is the best investment, then of course, why not? But if it isn't, then don't go for it. Like, if it's, you don't like the way it sounds, whatever it is, it's totally okay to say no, and it's not going to hurt my feelings. I just like to stay away from those people that sit on the fence, right? Because I've just been doing this.
Yeah.
But if it's not a yes or no answer, then that's a no. You know what I mean? So I'm just looking for a yes or no answer, if that's okay.
Cool.
All right, awesome. And then you're able to make decisions for your own health and fitness, but
Okay, I didn't love that, and let me tell you why. He spent about I was watching the clock, about 3 to 5 seconds telling him that he has permission to say yes, and then he spent 31 seconds talking to him about having permission to say no. So I don't love that balance. It was like too much focus on you have permission to say no, but you don't have permission to sit on the fence. This is not a strategy that I use, but I do know people use this and it works really well for them. I think it kind of fits with this style, but the strategy is asking for them to make a decision today. If you're going to use it, I want more balance. And so what I would want that to sound like is, great. So if we get clear on your health goals and we get clear on the action plan and you feel like it's the right plan for you, then in this call, I'm going to ask you to make a decision. If you feel like this is right for you, by all means, say yes, let's get started. We can have you on track to reach your goals. If it's not a fit for you, that's fine too. But what is frustrating is when I see people sit on the fence and just not make a decision at all, because then they're not able to move forward towards what is right for them. So can I just ask that you'll make a decision today? I would just shift that so that the balance between it even more heavily weighted around the yes than the no. Like if you want to say no, cool, move on. So I wouldn't spend a lot of time on giving them permission to say no. It just felt out of balance to me. So overall, the beginning of the call I felt like was pretty strong. He definitely took control of the call. He set expectations, got permission. I love all of that. Couple little tweaks that I would make in there. And then the next thing that he does in this call is he goes through and asks specific health questions. And since it's somebody's personal health information, we're going to skip ahead a little bit.
What's your eating window, by the way? Is it, because I think you said it was like 12, so is it 12 to 8?
Yeah, 12 to 8 or 11 to 7 usually.
Do you have any issues with well, I guess with intermittent fasting it kind of reduces things, but so it's almost like, hey, I've been working all day and I've been working really hard, so I deserve like a treat.
Yeah, and honestly, like in all fairness, yeah, but it's not like that. Oh, I feel like I deserve this. It's more like, oh, this is really quick and convenient, and I can focus on something else other than having to worry about my food.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense, especially if you're in meetings till, because I know pest control people that are at, I have a friend named Ryan, and he works for Active, and he's I want to say he's a regional guy. He just got promoted regional, but he's doing real estate deals on the side, and then he's at the Active building meeting with people till 8 p.m. So he's just got so on. So it's like, oh crap, it's 8 o'clock. I haven't prepared any meals. I'm just gonna go down the street and go to whatever restaurant it is, right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
So why do you think you justify that?
Okay, so this is an interesting little moment right here because you're starting to get to the problem below the problem. When you can solve someone's internal emotion around an external problem, you're going to be really, really good at sales. So what happened here was he started to get into, the client started to get into the emotional problem, which is, prioritizing simplicity, convenience. He's probably on the go a lot. He's a business owner. He's hustling. And so he's starting to get to that point. And what happened was Torin went on a detour and talked about his friend's story and then came back to it, but came back to it again, a little bit hardcore, which I like. He's got this style and it works. I mean, honestly, if I'm going to hire a fitness person, I don't want them to be super soft and give me lots of leeway. I want them to get me into shape, right? So that makes sense. However, here's what I would do differently. So the purpose of the detour is to show that you understand their problem, but it's time consuming and it actually disconnects the person from their emotion. So it gives them an emotional pause instead of going into the emotion that's right on the surface. So instead, ask clarifying questions. Things like, so tell me more about that, or, well, how do you feel about that? That will allow them to lean into and get to that emotion quicker, because as soon as you get into the emotion, you don't have to keep digging through the emotion. You've gotten there. You've gotten to the emotion, the internal emotion around the external problem. And as soon as you get to that, you can move forward more quickly and it will help your calls progress.
I think at first, because it's kind of been a habit that just built. When I first started, my body was good and happy, and I didn't know something, and then it became a habit, and then it just being a habit just kind of happens, and then I think I justify it because I'm just oh, whatever, I'll work it off in the morning, or honestly, I know it's bad or wrong when I do it. It's just dude, I have to focus on something else right now. I think it's just a lack of being a priority and convenience.
So if you'll notice, when he circled back around, he came back in at the same emotion level that he was at before. So it was like he was starting to get there, and then the detour came, and then he asked for him to go deeper, and he came right back to where he was. If you'll ask those clarifying questions, it allows them to go deeper more quickly.
So how do you think you can make it a priority?
Okay, I really like that question right there. How do you think you can make it a priority? Because what you're doing here, Torin is doing mini commitments, and asking people to make mini commitments to themselves makes it easier for them to commit to you at the end, because they need to commit to themselves. And that's the thing that I want you all to understand when you're closing a deal, is if you're trying to get them to commit to you, but they're not committed to their own problem, their own goal, their own need, then it's going to be really hard to close.
I think just being conscious of it, and usually, like, if it's a goal of mine, like, I'm pretty, like, talked about earlier or last time, like, if I make a promise or something, like, I don't want to lie to myself. We lie enough as a society and to other people, like, might as well not lie to yourself. So I think just, like, making it a goal and working on it is when it actually happens, or how it would happen.
Well, you made it a goal before, right? So, like, what's the difference?
That's another mini commitment, and that's also a call out on, and he did get permission from that in the beginning, and so he's not asking for permission here. If you don't get permission in the beginning, you need to ask permission here, and it doesn't hurt to ask permission multiple times through. So I usually ask permissions multiple times through, and so at that I would say, do I have permission to ask a question that might be a little bit uncomfortable? And because I'm getting that permission, it helps them to open up to me instead of their subconscious protecting them from me. Sometimes when you are really bold in your sales conversations, the subconscious mind will start going, ooh, this guy's getting really close to the pain, so we're going to start closing off the subconscious doors. Whereas if you will ask permission, it opens them up because they just said yes, and so the subconscious is like, okay, well, come on in, you can see our messy house.
That's a great question. I think like I'll make a goal, I'll hit the goal, and then I like back off and stop on it, or like these like events will happen, like I'll be going really well, and then Christmas will come around and we'll like we'll travel, we'll go see family.
It sounds like you've done this before, right? Like, you've started this awesome challenge, you completed it, but now I kind of want to say, like, you're kind of possibly to go, but yeah.
So little tweak with languaging here when you say it sounds like it's your judgment for them, and people will respond to their own words more than they respond to your words. So I would make a little shift and I would say, so what I'm hearing is, and then repeat it to them, and then they'll say, yeah, that sounds right. And I also ask that. I'll say, so what I'm hearing is you've set big goals in the past, you've accomplished the big goals, and then once the big goal is done, you fall back into old patterns. Does that sound accurate? And then they'll say yes. As soon as they agree to it, they claim it as truth. If you say your opinion about what you think is going on, they can choose to accept or reject it, and it doesn't land the same way inside of the mind.
Exactly. Like, have you developed habits that will work for you for the rest of your life, or is this just another, hey, this is awesome challenge? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think this. I mean, I'm not gonna say, I'm changed forever my whole life. Like, I'd love to be. I hope so, but I'm also not one to like make empty promises. And so I think because I've got into fasting, I felt like this is going to be way more sustainable.
Okay, so what is going on right here is, and this is really subtle, you may not pick up on this, but when someone starts subtly justifying where they're at and what they're doing, that's a moment where they're starting to pull back, and if you can't circle them back around, it can be the start of where you start to lose them. So I'm hearing it a little bit. I don't know how Torin's going to respond, but we shall see.
I really do hope, and I've kind of been prepared for it and kind of kept it going. I bought like an Echelon bike. You know what those? I'm sure you're familiar with Echelon bikes, like with like a Peloton.
Okay, so this has gone on too long to be able to address that. So I'm just going to come in and say what I would have done. As soon as I start to hear them start to justify what they're doing now, what they're trying to do is build a case for why they don't need you. And so in that moment, what I would do is say, okay, so it sounds like you've made some good adjustments and changes, but you still have a gap towards where you want to be. Does that sound accurate? And when they say, yeah, I am making good changes, but there's still room for growth, I would say, okay, great. And are you committed to getting those results and making those changes? So when I start to hear someone justify where they're at, I know that their brain is building the case for why they don't need to change. Because you guys think about it, our brain wants to keep us comfortable. Like we have this primal part of our brain that is designed to keep us alive, to keep us safe, and to keep us out of danger. And so starting to do something that is new and that is scary kind of raises off that like, well, this could be dangerous, this could be hard, this could be uncomfortable, this could be painful. And so right here, this is a critical moment. The subconscious is trying to make them say, you don't need to change. You're fine the way you are. Those love handles, more of you to love.
Well, it makes sense. I kind of want to, at this point, just kind of want to dig into like, just to help you, like I like to bring pain to the surface and then just figure out like everything we're dealing with and then finding an ultimate why of why we need to do this. And that way we give you a great reason to lose the weight and be consistent, right? Because a lot of times, because it sounds like that's what our biggest struggle is, just like we do these challenges or we do these things and it works and it's awesome. But then we go on a trip where we go back to our, right, being a summer salesman and then it just falls off.
Yeah.
But what do you...
So this is a transition segment in his script. He's going from discovery and he's going into commitment. And he's letting him know that they're going to go a little bit deeper. I love all of that. I say it a little bit differently. What I say is, great, well, I've got a lot of good information, a lot of good ideas here for you, but I want to shift directions. We're going to go a little bit deeper, and these next few questions are really going to be maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but getting the answers will be the key to you creating that sustainable, consistent growth. Do you have permission to go there? So I say it a little bit differently, but still we're in that transition, and I would give it a 6.5 rating out of 10. I did like the part where he mentioned like setting the context of why so many people miss their goals and reiterating the pattern that he's been going through. I liked that a lot. I'll give that part of it like a 9.
Say, you guys don't have any kids yet, do you?
Yeah, we have one kid and my wife is pregnant, so we're about to have a second on the way.
How old's your first kid?
15 months.
Usually at that age, it doesn't really affect too much with your kids. Usually it's when you get a little bit older, but you do move a lot, so it's probably not too much of a concern. Does being overweight at all affect how you feel about being a positive role model to your kids, like later in life?
Okay, I'm not a fan of these types of questions, and I'll tell you why. This gentleman that he's talking to, he's got enough problems on his own that we don't need to surmise what potential problems might be. Whenever you are trying to like find the pain point and you start stoking it with ideas of what you think the pain might be, you can totally hit a blank where they're like, nope, there's nothing there. And then what happens is their perception is they start to be like, man, why is this guy coming at me so hard? I don't even have issues in these areas. And again, the subconscious starts to protect from you the real issues, so you don't get to the real issues. You don't need to do this. An easier way would be to just say something like, so, let's go a little bit deeper. What's the real reason behind why this matters so much? Like on a heart level, on a lifetime goals level, why is this important to you? And just go off of that. Let them be the starting point, and then they'll let you go deeper versus feeling like, I'm guessing, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Sometimes it can be this, sometimes it can be that. And use their words to be the guide to go deeper. Now, sometimes what will happen is you heard things earlier in the call, but it wasn't time to go deep yet. It was time to just gather information. So what you'll do is you'll circle back to it and you'll say things like, so earlier you mentioned your kids and wanting to be able to have energy to keep up with them. Let's talk about that. Is there a story behind why that's so important to you? What was your experience like with your parents? And if they have already mentioned it and they've already hinted at it, take notes, write it down, come back to it here. But otherwise, we're going to let everything be built off of what they say versus us guessing.
I know I got a little bit of chub, but I ain't like quite there. You know, where I've ever felt like I don't want to take my shirt off. Like I'm still fine taking my shirt off, but it's not like I'm taking my shirt off and all the heads are turning.
Okay. I mean, well, if you're like at a pool party and you take off your shirt, how would that feel if you're like in good shape?
Dude, it would honestly feel great. And that's like, yeah, like I don't ever feel ashamed, and like I don't have.
Okay, so this is a good transition right here because there's two different types of people. The majority of people purchase from pain. Like you find the pain and they purchase because they want to solve the pain. But there's a small percentage of people who purchase from pleasure, that they purchase based on what they want and where they want to be. And you won't do well selling from pain points to a person who wants to purchase from pleasure. And I've been suspecting this for a little bit, that I think this guy relates more to the pleasure than he relates to the pain. So if you can get him focused on what he wants, what his goals are, visualizing the end result, visualizing the sustainability, I think that's a stronger way to close him. I always check for the pain, because if I was going to say a percentage, I'd say about 85% of the people purchase from pain, but you do have about this like 15% who they purchase from pleasure. They purchase from what they want, where they want to go, and they'll be kind of annoyed if you're spending a lot of time trying to dig in their pain. They're like, no, just show me how to get what I want.
At least I don't think I have like body like shaming issues with myself or anything like that. But I always know there's like the next level up, and like there's always better. Like I want to be better, and so I think like actually being that next level, or being, you know, the guy at the pool party with that looks the best, like that's always, I mean, who doesn't really honestly want that?
And then you kind of already answered this question, right? You're like, you definitely know, like, if you were looking better, you would perform a lot better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, how do you think it would affect your recruiting if you were in the shape that you want to be in?
He shifted the questioning, and now he's getting more honesty. Instead of it being like, oh yeah, if that was a problem, then it would affect me, but it's not a problem, so it doesn't affect me. He shifted into, what is it you want? How would this affect your goals in this area? And so a better way to ask these questions for this buyer would have been things like, so how would your marriage be enhanced if you were on track with all of your health goals? How would you be a better dad if you were on track with all your health goals? And how about a business owner? How, you know, being at that ideal weight, being at the ideal body fat, being at the ideal muscle, how would that affect your confidence in business? That, for this buyer, that would be a better way to ask those questions.
So what do you think the body image would be of someone that's in the 1% club?
And someone that looks like Rich Ronick.
I don't know who
I
that is.
agree with you, and I definitely think that's achievable. But I appreciate you opening up with me. Right? I'm like, takes a certain level of trust to do that. So, but what I want to do next is I just want to go a quick review of your goals, make sure you and I are on the same page, and we'll go from there. Does that sound good?
Cool.
But Skylar, that makes you think, like, I think you would be a good fit for the program. So this is what I want to do is you're 187 on the brink of 185. And you want to get to 12 to 17% body fat. Like I said, that's about 15-20 pounds of fat that we need to burn. And right, so that's what the ultimate goal is. This program has helped a lot of people just like you accomplish their health goals. And given the fact where you're at right now, I can tell you help you to lose I'm thinking about 5 to 10 pounds of body fat.
Okay, so there was a missed opportunity here that's so important. In fact, I would say this is probably the most important part. He went straight into, is this what you want? Yes. Okay, great. I think you'd be a good fit for the program, and starts talking about the program. You gotta pause right there, and this is where you have to ask them the commitment questions, okay? So you need to get the commitment. So what I would have said is, okay, let's just make sure we've got everything. I would be a little bit more concise in that review. And then I would say, did we miss anything? As soon as he says no, I'd say, great. So it sounds like you've got a lot of reasons why you need to do this. Are you committed to it? And then when they say, yeah, I'm committed, I would say, okay, great. And are you committed to making the sacrifices that it's going to take to get there in terms of time, money, and energy and effort? And then when he says yes, then what I say is well, awesome. Then I think you'd be a great fit, and I'd love to share with you how I can help you with this. And so now it shifts the dynamic from us being someone who's trying to talk them into doing something to us being someone who is helping them. We're in their corner. We are their Mick to their Rocky Balboa, who is going to make sure that they win and hit their goals.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, awesome, dude. Do you have any questions on how the program works before I make my recommendation for you?
No, that should be good. I'm not trying to rush this, but I have my wife's getting an ultrasound in like 5 minutes, so I kind of gotta go a little quick.
Okay. Can we just we'll go over the program and everything. We can just do like a 10-15 minute call. I don't want you to ultrasound. How about
I forgot that was even happening. I apologize.
No.
Okay, that was absolutely the right call, although bummed that we don't get to hear the answer to this. I feel like it's a cliffhanger. Did he close or did he not? We need to know. But yeah, if you ever get to the edge of a call and they need to go, do not ever, ever, ever rush your offer. Schedule another call and say, well, this has been really great. I'm pretty clear on your goals. Let's go ahead and set up a time when we can chat for 10 minutes and I can go through the program with you and answer any questions you have. Never, never, never rush your offer, ever. You'll lose it every time. So that was a good ending to an unfortunate situation. And now I really want to know, is the baby a boy or a girl? And did this dad close?
So I just got done watching Amy Walker's review of my sales call. And first off, I just want to say thank you, Amy. Great advice in all accounts. I think for me, definitely was super helpful. Just to be not being afraid to ask for permission and then asking those clarifying questions, or just being like, hey, tell me more about that. What's going on with that? I think a lot of times we have a tendency to overcomplicate, or at least I do, and I have to think of this super awesome question, but it's sometimes just be like, hey, tell me more, or hey, what about this? Tell me more about that. For me, that totally helps me out a bunch. And then better understanding the difference between a pleasure buyer and then a buyer that buys from pain, because I would say this is my first time encountering someone that buys from pleasure. Most of the time I get people that are pain buyers, especially with health and fitness, right? A lot of people have pain when it comes to the way they look or the way they feel about themselves. And so that's usually the approach I took. So honestly, on that call, I was feeling a little lost because this guy was like, hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. So totally awesome to better understand that process. And then also how to ask questions in a way that's not guessing, but you're just hey, how would this improve your relationship with your spouse? How would this improve your relation with your career? Or how would this help you improve as a business owner? So that way it's a lot more positive in my opinion. I actually got the script from another business coach and he kind of helped me work with it. And I just love the positive direction a lot better than kind of the more negative, do you struggle with these things? You know what I mean? So just, again, thanks Amy Walker. And for those that were on a cliffhanger, I believe his wife had a baby girl. We had the follow-up conversation. Gist of that story is basically he was like, hey, I started this business and I just need to conserve my resources as much as possible. And that's where he left me at. But thanks again, Amy.
All right, my friends, was that helpful? Did you get some useful tips that you can take into your sales calls? Go ahead and let me know in the comments below. If you are new to the channel, have you subscribed yet? And if you haven't, why not? We have so much great content that we are sending your way. So make sure that you get plugged in so that you can receive updates every time we release new content. If you are looking for a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, I want to invite you to come over to our Acquire Facebook group where you can get connected, ask questions, and have some behind-the-scenes conversations. So this video was a bit of a cliffhanger, am I right? We didn't get to hear the end, and I'm sure some of you are like, I needed to hear the part where they tell you, I'm just too busy, I just can't afford it, I just don't have time. We have an entire playlist dedicated to scripts for overcoming sales objections, and the one that I would go and check out is How to Overcome and Handle Sales Objections, the secret to I'm too busy, because I don't know about you, but I don't love when I hear that one. All right, my friends, I hope that this has been helpful. If you want some help and support on your sales conversations, I'd love to offer you a copy of my book, the I'm Not a Salesperson sales book, Sell Like a Natural Even If You're Not, for free, where it has in there all of my scripts for my high converting sales conversations. So go ahead and download that and get started turning those sales calls around. Thanks for watching, everyone. So go get busy and let's make sure those sales calls are sick.